Instant cash advance for gig workers up to $10,000 with instant approval and same day funding, even more up to 2 million and above. I'll also be showing you and going over a 0% interest option that is super lucrative to many gig workers and many other business owners out there. But before I get into this video, if this is your first time watching me, welcome in. And if you've been here before, welcome in too. I've been a business funding expert, a business loan broker expert, as well as a pre-underwriter slash underwriter for many years, helping a lot of people in this gig economy in the past, the present, the future, many other businesses, small, medium, large size, real estate investors. I've literally seen it all. I'll have more information for this also down below in the description to get started with my number one recommended lender and or location to get started. So look down below in the description. But before you do that, we are going to go through the details here. As a gig worker, I understand very well. I've been there, done that, freelancing many, many years ago, getting my footing on the ground. Perhaps you're in Uber Eats, you're in just Uber in general, Lyft, grocery, delivery, shopper, mystery shopper, Instacart, musician, you're doing gigs. It can be anything, literally. And if you are self-employed, a gig worker, this works for you. There's many capacities as a small business in trucking, construction, you're a contractor, independent contractor. You have a salon shop, you're a barber. A lot of this I'll leave you down below in the description. Being a gig worker isn't easy. You have to look at all the expenses that accumulate more than the revenue slash sales that do come in, the income that can fluctuate. It could be seasonal. If it's not a seasonal thing, it's how many hours you're working, how much labor costs, how much in terms of wages, what are you getting paid? Do you have any unemployment benefits if you do, medical coverage, healthcare benefits, instead of a 401k because you don't have an employer, you have an IRA account. There's a lot of stuff that can go up and down and something else I'd like to introduce you to is getting cashback savings and a referral membership. So, what I also wanted to open up really quickly and show you is this platform called Nexus Rewards. I'll leave you more information down below that I've been sharing with a lot of people in the gig working, just self-employed, any kind of small business that you can have the ultimate cashback savings and referral program rewards so that can help you save more especially as a gig worker, as a business owner, self-employed, and even in many other ways. So you can also have your biggest payday, your biggest paycheck ever by saving more, making more, taking more time off in your own personal life, giving it more to your children, taking away that stress, feeling more confident and certain about what you're doing, thinking with more clarity. This is very helpful. So again, I'll leave this down below. And they also have a referral program that's very, very lucrative, by the way. So if you decided you wanted to join the business opportunity, I'll give you more information down below or in time. I'll share it with you like I have for many others that are joining. You see newest signups at the top there, and you can see what Nexus Snap can do for you with that. But Nexus Rewards enables you to easily make money on purchases you're already making, such as gasoline, Uber, Lyft, not even just those industries, but many others where you're having to drive up and down, maybe a larger range, maybe a shorter range, but you need it. Even when you don't think you do, it adds up quickly. It's very helpful on groceries, dining, travel improvements, apparel, online or offline, and much more. And this is the best that I've seen out there. Their opportunity is amazing with their apps that are free, Rakuten, many others, premium apps on bill reduction. I have my back office and all that. I won't go into it today because I want to focus on the funding, but I can show you this in time. Gasoline savings, save up to 25 cents per gallon or more every time you get gas. And if you refer others, you get 15 cents a gallon per referral, plus 1 cent a gallon for every gallon they buy forever. So think about helping others. If you do know others that are in the gig economy or not in the gig economy, you're trying to get out of that. Maybe you have been doing other things that have been going up and down. You want to get your own business and you want to go completely away from that. This right here can really help you. And I'll give you my own system and other things that work extremely well. They have a residual component to this. So if you decide to join their business opportunity, instead of starting off at zero every single month, building something predictably coming in instead of having to start with zero and from complete scratch every month, something residually build and build on top of it. Let the professional negotiators lower your bills for you. Success stories you see there, 60 billion every year for basic services we all use. What other people are saying right here from Paul, I've earned almost $90 in the first 3 weeks, and people that I've referred are blown away at how much they're saving and earning. Truly no BS and super easy. You have Forest Nexus bill reduction reviewed my T-Mobile bill and was able to save me 1,071 in total savings on that bill over the next 24 months. From Lee, I've already got over $80 cash back on things I already buy. I would highly recommend to anyone that likes saving money. And the list goes on here with Kimberly. I really love this app. I just got $25 back for dining at a really nice Italian restaurant, making it more affordable night out. So you see all that here. And big brands, some of the merchants, Best Buy, Zappos, CVS, DSW, Walmart, Amazon, Target, and the list goes on and on. See here, exclusive benefits portal used by 5 out of the 10 of the largest U.S. employers, plus 23% of Fortune 500 companies for their executives, management, and employees. Average member savings and cashback over 500 per month, 400 per month, over 5,000 per year. Easy to use all the way to over to exclusive discounts. And their compensation plan. So if you decide you wanted to promote that payment on 34 on free signups, an additional $25 on paid signups, and there's more that goes over this very lucrative, amazing opportunity to be a part of. It's been very helpful to me, my family, and using the apps, but also with their compensation plan. It's super amazing. Art and Rob Phelps are the co-founders. So again, without spending too much time, that I'll leave down below. So back to this, even more up to 2 million. What do I mean by that? So if you are not in a specific revenue range, or you are more than what is required for just getting up to 10K, but you won't qualify for that for another reason, maybe you defaulted already, I have a lender that can work with defaults, more or less. They're willing to review the file. Maybe it's because you're in a specific state. You're using a personal account instead of a business account for business. It can be the amount of deposits, the uses of funds. But I have a lot of different lenders for you. And I have one here that doesn't do a credit score check. So the instant cash advance for gig workers, they won't even look at your credit for doing a soft pull. So how it works is you go and submit it. I'll have more information down below to get started, my #1 recommended place. And it's also exclusive, by the way. And so if you go through there, it is much more efficient, and the amount of approvals and the highest amount. So that'll be the best way to do it. Not everybody has it this way. But again, like I said, I have exclusive partnerships, and I only want the very best. And I have the best personal and business relationships with the majority of these lenders, providers, organizations, etc. They trust me a lot. I'm a very loyal person, and I don't hide anything. I'm very ethical in what I do. Not a talker. I can be shy at times, reserved. That's just how I am. So no credit score check. What happens though is once you go through it, you'll have about 4 or so questions to answer. Based on that, you'll have your results. If you can qualify, you'll get a soft offer. You can approve it. If you decide to approve it, then you'll go through the next stage. You'll likely get a contract sent to your email. And then in the email, you can go ahead and review it, sign date, what you have to do, look it over. Okay. And then there will be final underwriting. Once final underwriting takes place, there will be a credit inquiry at that point. There will be a hard pull on your credit. You can say that. It's another way. And that's just what's changed. There was times where it could have been just a soft pull all the way through, but you're a higher risk profile and with lower revenue. Just keep that in mind. If you're not qualifying for more than 10,000, you're a very, very high risk file. You don't always get the best terms. You don't get the best rates. That's just common. Perhaps you already know that. So let's go even deeper here. So 3,000 a month minimum is what my gig worker, self-employed, independent contractors, lenders are looking for. And some of them have changed their guidelines where some of them want to look at credit, others will not, but they don't give as much, they don't disperse as much. They only are selective with few industries. They have a sweet spot. And down below, again, will be the very best, and you'll get the best look overall. And if you're looking for more than 10,000 and you can qualify for it, then sure. But 3,000 a month minimum over to 14,000 maximum. Sometimes 15,000 through these lenders, but 14,000 maximum. So 3,000 on your lowest month in the last 90 days, or in other words, 3 months. So it has to be 3,000 amount in your lowest month in the last 3 months. Okay, so it can't be that you had a 1,500 month, a 2,500, and then you had a 3,000. Even if the 3,000 month and you're trending in revenue going up, if it's opposite of that, that's looking even worse. It still won't get approved, but it just look at it this way. Would somebody lend you if, let's say 3 months ago, let's say over 6 months, your highest month was 7,000, and whatever business, I'm not going to get into the uses of funds. I can help you with a lot. I've seen it all. I help people restructure and reorganize their profits and cash flow. That's where you first have to look at, especially in this market. What I tell people is it's not that you can't grow or expand. And if you can't, that's one thing. Should you? Should you look at optimizing a specific revenue source, your customer acquisition costs better so you don't have to hit break even points as often? What are you doing? It's probably a form of your product, not enough product market fit. It's not as great as you think it is. If it is, that's helpful. Are you getting enough referrals? Can you tell by that? There's other metrics you can look at, the numbers. You have to look at just about every little area. I won't go into it all right now in this video, but 3 months, 3,000. If you're doing 3,000, 4,000, then 5,000, you're increasing revenue. That's even better. That gives us a better case, the lender a better case. If they know projecting you will be making more, and with your uses of funds, you just need more to make now to 7,000. But you were missing out a few things on inventory, your spread, your output slowed down 6 months ago or something, and then now you're back up. It's not just a seasonal thing. Something happened where you acquired a new customer, a government contract. Those usually are more lucrative, but you have something else in place for a job you bid it on, and you've done this before. You have the materials, the supplies. All you need to do is fulfill on the acquisition or the acquisition cost, fees, everything that's attached to it, personnel. List goes on. So the more you have to use your funds for, usually the better. But with a lot of lower revenue ranges, you have to be cautious because you start putting it in different buckets. 3% goes here, 6% goes here to get a 50% margin ROI gross. And then how much of that is net out of that? Not to say that it isn't bad, but you have to understand, work off one thing. If you can't buy more than what you can chew, take one, optimize that. Can you come back and get more? You want to always get what you want, but get more over time. So here, that's what you see. Sometimes 15,000, but usually 3,000 to 14,000, you fit in that bucket. So 14,000 off that 75%, that's 10,000. You can do the quick math off 25% of that. So at the highest amount, 25 to 75% are the monthly revenue approvals. With other lenders, if you're doing more than 14,000, you're in the 15,000 range. Sometimes if you're in California and New York, you can't qualify with specific lenders because of disclosure laws, regulations. And if you do have, if you're in the state of California or New York, if there's others that can develop in time, then you have to be doing a minimum of 5,000. And I'll go to a different provider. At that point, they'll usually look at credit. Sometimes not so much if I find the right one, but it won't always work that way. It's usually a credit check. And at a minimum of 450. Usually 550 in this market is best, 500 doable, depending on if it's cleaner credit, there's too many missed payments. It's not usually because of high utilization. That's one thing that can determine it. And balances that need to be paid down, many accounts, and the more trade lines usually works, the better. But there's other things to look at. It's not just based off of utilization. There's other things that we have to go through. I'm going to spend all the time here to go over it, but you see that with other lenders, when you're doing more, you can see 50 to 150%. You can see 75% to 200%. You can see 100% to 200%. Not every lender is equal, so you have to be careful of who you go to. And another thing too is a lot of people out there overpromise and they underdeliver. I've seen so much in writing stories, horror stories. I've had my own clients go the opposite way. And whether it was caused by them or someone else, you have to have your best judgment and look at it as professionalism and integrity from somebody who can help you. Not only do I know my stuff in the business world, but as a person, personal development, my mindset. That's what I care for a lot, and making sure you get the best from me. Very calculated, energy and time efficient in what I do. So you'll see that sometimes it's 50 to 200%. If it's your first advance and you're getting more funding, or you can qualify for more, maybe it's 110% or so to start with. If you make a good case, depending on the uses of funds, you're trending, what you're needing it exactly for, it could be more. If your revenue is strong enough, you're depositing. There's quite a bit. So there is that facet of this equation. And down here, 4+ deposits, the better. 6+ is usually a good range. 5+ is normally going to be it. 4+, we start getting into that. Okay, good. And then when we get below 4 with lower revenue, it's like, oh man, those deposits are scattered or they're all in 1 week. You don't get paid at the end of the month. You don't have a tire that you need. The tread is out. It's in the shop. Your truck is in the shop. There's so much that can go wrong. And if we've seen it in the past couple of months where you had those months that you were depositing more, but now you can't. It's going to be out of service for a week or two. Like, what are we going to do depending on That's your revenue stream. Or if you don't have enough trucks, there's something else in the business that we need to look at. Inventory count, I can go on and on, machinery. But four plus, if it's less than that, that's okay. We can look at it too. Three, two, one deposit. One, that's getting too low. One, two is getting way too low. Three plus, okay, breaking a barrier. Four plus, okay. Five, okay, now we're really getting. So it just depends on the file too. But normally, the higher the deposits, four plus, five plus deposits, the better. Seven plus at times, you'll see that from this in specific industries. No more than five non-sufficient funds or negative days in any of the last 3 months. That's pretty self-explanatory. I won't go into detail on what are NSFs and negative days. You can look that up. But there's a lot more that I know too, not just by looking things up, but actual by the experience of doing this with so many people, looking at bank statements, reviewing quite a bit, that I know what looks out of place, what doesn't, what's okay, what's acceptable, but no more than five NSFs, and that's very um, flexible in how much you get. How much can you already break in a month if you had it all in 1 month? So current capital advance is what we're looking at. Again, these are based upon your future receivables, what you're making in future sales, but what you're doing now. It's not traditionally amortized as a business loan. That's what you're going to see with these. A bank loan, an SBA loan, those are different, but do you qualify as a gig worker, as a non-gig worker? I've helped people get those at FDIC Bank, SBA loans, lines of credit, fintech bank line of credit, equipment loans, financing, seller financing with SBAs, credit back, collateral backed, fully cash out refinance. There's a whole lot of stuff, hedge funds, clearing up debt, going in their pockets, but that's a whole different strategy. Private equity, angel investors, grants. There's so much that can go on. But 3 to 6 month terms is what you see. Other places that might give you 8 to 10 weeks. So keep that in mind. 3 to 6 months, you're getting a good amount. Sometimes it's less, just depending on the file. Applying to too many places that have been declined over and over, taking a chance on you. You've been a default client, lower depositing frequency, type of deposits. 1.29 to 1.69x is the factor rate, or in other words, the total payback. So this just simply means that if you were given a 1.39 on 10,000, let's say you were given the 1.39 is your calculation, and this is given to you based upon your assessment in risk. So you're given a 1.39 total payback by 10,000. Let's say you got 10,000 because you were generating 14,000 a month. Your total payback would then be 13,900. Now you look at the 14,000, you say 13,900, that's relatively too close. But when you break it up into increments and how your depositing is and the payments coming out of it, it's not really that much. It is a lot for somebody who's not using it correctly. So if you're taking 10,000 and you're expected to pay back 13,900 on it, your cost of funds 3,900 more or less. You look at the principal and the interest. There are early payment discounts for payability for that. No prepayment penalty in these things. The prepayment, early payment discounts do get applied. That's one thing. If they don't, it's another thing. If it makes sense to as well. But can you sustain that? Are you in growth and expansion mode? That's what it should be used for. If it isn't, like a lot of gig workers don't always have that luxury like others do, but you're using it to get a tire and it's going to help you generate the same revenue or keep you up afloat, you have to make that decision. Does the benefit really exceed the repayment? What's the alternative cost of not being in business, having to go back and work under someone else, or having to completely change course and do something completely different, but you've had a goal in mind to get to? There's so much to look at, but make sure the benefit, the ROI makes sense. That if you take 10,000, paying back 13,900, can you make more than just breaking even? Can you make 15K? Can you make double 20, 30K with it? If it's not immediate, when will it be? Will it not be in 3 months? Should you take less to start with? Should you apply it to a different area? Or okay, in 4 months, okay, I'm having a 5 month term on this. I'm going to actually pay it back in 3 months. Boom, cleared it off. Good. Automatic approvals, not manually done. Why is that not manually done? You're a lower revenue. It's the ROI for having an underwriting, junior, senior underwriting department and all this, looking at it all manually, catering to each part of the process. You know how much money it already costs to do that, let alone cost to fulfill on it looking at manually. The ROI on all parties does not make sense. A lot of people can go into a default at this lower revenue level. So why would it make sense to have that kind of manpower? But it is very well precisely done. It's connected with Plaid. So you'll have your bank credentials. So be ready with that. It connects with Plaid, as you see right here. I've done a video review. I'll try to link it to you down below. If it's not there, it's one thing, but it's very safe and secure. I've done a review on, and you can just link this up. Their software, a lot of people use it to do these checks and analysis financially, and it'll just look at the statements, it'll look at the accounts without it doing anything wrong. Like it's all ethical, by the way. It's never done anything wrong like that. It's not going to go and manipulate, move, take things away, add things to. No, none of that. It's looking at it, the history, it's looking at the accounts currently, like what's going on month to day, all this other stuff to see how much you can really get. And if your amount of an approval from your soft offer to your final offer changes, why does it change? Because of the current account, because it looks at everything and it looks at this background. If they're looking at what your current month is, month to date, it's slow. There's a lot of stuff that can factor into that final contracts sent to your email, final underwriting, as I mentioned at the beginning, and then there will be a hard credit inquiry at that point. So no credit check, but there's a hard credit inquiry at that point, which is standard that you're going to see with a lender like this. It's very common. So online banking setup, personal and or business account can be used for business. No credit requirements. 4+ months time in business is the requirement. Sometimes 3 months, but online banking with fintech, excuse me, with a lot of it being digitalized, commoditized. You're looking at the digital banking systems. Uh, there's so much out there that's changing where online banking is a necessity now to check PDFs, look at everything, how it's delivered. Because there's a lot of fraud out there. People just taking snapshots, people just sending them in via email in a specific way. It shouldn't have been sent. There's a lot of stuff to look at, things that have been manipulated. You have to be careful. Personal and or business account you can have for this lender. So if you've been depositing a lot in your personal, you don't have a business account, we can use that. Ideally, get a business account. When you're trying to go up for higher tier, they're going to look for business accounts. And if you're moving personal to business, that doesn't normally count as stated revenue and deposits. You have to start depositing it directly into that business account, or from multiple business accounts, you move it over. How does that cash flow look like? How does it transfer the wires? We have to also look at that in account. What is makes sense, what doesn't, what will get declined based upon those things. So no credit requirements, 4 months time in business, creative credit back funding. Let me get into that option now, and then we're going to close up. 0% interest, business and or personal credit cards. This is another very lucrative option as an alternative for instant cash advances for gig workers, for any type of business. You can get an interest only loan, a bank loan, bank term loan, a business term loan of any kind. Can't get those lines of credit, specific equipment loans, but you can use something as an advance to get it. That's another option. Or if you needed to do the creative credit back route, this is one I strongly recommend too. And we can look at doing multiple business credit cards at 0% interest. And I do credit stacking on the back end with the team. And it's the concept of we can go look at different banks, top tier, you can go community, lower, regional, and see what's best. So we start with the top best that can improve the most. It's in your best interest to have those relationships. We can do about 5 at a time, 5 to 6, 4 to 5, 3 to 4, 2 to 3, 1 to 2. It just depends on the makeup of your profile, what we can realistically do. But having that relationship is very helpful instead of always doing it in one institution. You can't always get everything from one place if you wanted more. And having that relationship where you're building it with others, where they're going to want to offer you more. When they see you have this over here and they're going to pull from this credit bureau, they're going to want to effectively try to give you more. And for the uses of funds, there's a lot of stuff, especially with payment history looking good. There's also the personal side with the personal credit card or credit cards at 0% interest. If you needed that, there's also a personal term / installment loan. We can do a personal line of credit sometimes, not always. That's harder to do in this market. But for 0% interest business credit card stacking, and getting a 0% interest business credit card doesn't always need like a 700 credit score. It's better, but you might see 680, 660, 650 at times. But to do it in the credit stacking way, to do it the most efficient, and what you need to have a 700 plus credit score on all 3 consumer credit bureaus, followed by FICO 2. That's what it'll be looked at. So that's the minimum. If it's less than that, maybe 680, 690, 670, starting to get far beyond, and it's due to high utilization, perhaps we will consider it, but you'll have to go through specific things to clear up first. After that, you'll qualify and you can move forward, or you can move forward as it is. Might sometimes be experimental, but you can move forward. And with that utilization being over 40% on how many accounts, revolving accounts, everything else that we look at, you might be able to move forward from the beginning. But it's in your best interest at that point, if you're overutilized, to use a bridge loan or a pay down or an advance, one of these options that I covered earlier for gig workers, anybody else too, with funding that we can use to apply it quickly in a quick disbursement as much as you needed to, pay it off quicker if you needed to, and then go back and get the funding with credits. So there are those options. So that's what we're looking at: high utilization, personal term installment loan, personal line of credit, 680 plus for the personal term slash installment loans. Most of my providers now want a 680 credit score on all three consumer credit bureaus. It used to be at a point where I can take you to one that goes 680 Experian, and that would be only what's weighed. Or they look at all three, but your Experian is what's majority weight or your middle score for that provider or so. But now it's like 680, it's weighted within the three, it's the average. There's a lot more to look at. So all three consumer credit bureaus on those as well, Fast Track. And if things change, you'll know. But Fast Track is if you can't get any business credit. I have a lot of people on this where we have to increase your organic threshold on the personal side to then get your business credit ready. I'll have more information on that in time. So that is all for me in this video. Again, look down below in the description. You can go ahead and get started with this questionnaire form. Fill this out. You see it right here. And getting started with it. For the instant cash advance for gig workers, I'll leave an immediate link down below and what's best to go through with it. But yes, that will be everything. Again, I showed you the Nexus reward site for the ultimate cashback savings and referral membership. So if you wanted to also share this with others, save more or get more, help others and their families, even start a business with this, that's very, very lucrative with their compensation plan. It's amazing. This can even replace what you're doing in your gig work. And even if you're in construction, trucking, I've seen a lot of people who leave those businesses because they want to be closer to home. They want to spend more time with their family. They want to be at home more often. They just are sick and tired of the grind with the other businesses of having a franchise and all the costs, startup costs of another business. You have equipment costs, overhead. It can be a real pain in the butt. The personnel, the equipment. I haven't even started. There's so much more. So this profit margins could be greater. You don't even have to speak to people on the phone. You don't have to be to different locations. You can be from your computer doing this literally, and it really helping you out, propelling you to the next place you want to get to. So that is everything for me. Appreciate you. Thank you for joining me today. If you did get value from it, I'd greatly appreciate you giving it a thumbs up. Please share it with others who you feel will find value from it. It can be a complete stranger, a friend, a family member. But one thing that I didn't mention, when you link with Plaid with these, because they're manually, you'll see this with lower revenue ranges, 5% or so of banks don't link, or you have to check in with them. If none of that works, or you exhausted those options, you might have to just connect with Plaid. You'll have to go get an account with them. And that has worked at times, other times it won't work. But yes, that's what I wanted to mention. And if you have not subscribed, I'd greatly appreciate you subscribing. And please click the bell notification icon so you do not miss any future videos I will be coming out with. That is all for now. Take care.